Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here. Hello, everyone. How are you all doing? I hope you're all doing well. It's Wednesday evening. It's the Snowflake Watch. It's episode 54 of this series that we are going through. This one is on the 16th of April 2025 at 8 p.m. UK time. We are dual streaming live on youtube.com/Reganelite. And we're also on twitch.tv/Reganelite1. So if you have a Twitch account, if you're on YouTube and you happen to be watching there as well, do give me a follow over on Twitch if you have a Twitch account there. Hit the follow button on there and turn on your bell notification icons on Twitch. You'll be notified when I go live on there as well, because obviously I'd like to grow on Twitch if that's possible. So if you can, please do. I do have the Twitch chat open as well, so feel free to come and say hello there as well. Mainly my crowd and audience is in YouTube, but feel free to come and say hello there. We have a lot of interesting topics to discuss tonight, guys. Obviously the Supreme Court ruling. I want to talk about obviously the man still being held in El Salvador. We're going to talk about that as well. I also want to cover a bit of Sudan as well, because I do think some video footage is important. Don't worry, you're not going to see anything horrible or horrifying from it. I want to stress that now. I do have some on Gaza as well as some other UK and American stuff if we have time today. There's a good chance we may go 2 hours long, given the amount of content that I have for you guys tonight. I want to start by saying massive thank you, Alistair Keir. It is good to see you, my friend. Hope you are doing well, with not one but two super chats before we've even started. Very generous of him. Both say, first one says, all hail the Democratic Penguins Republic. And then the second one also says, also hail the Democratic Penguin Republic. There. Thank you so much for those super chats. Very kind of you, my friend. It's good to see you. I hope you are doing well. Billy Kershaw says, back in a minute or five, just listening to Rory Harper. No worries, Billy. Thank you for the comment. Much appreciated. Good evening, Jow. Good to see you there. Hope you're doing well. Stephen Banker as well. Good to see you there. Hope you're doing well. One Angry Pagan. Good to see you, my friend. Hope you are doing well. Guys, do check out One Angry Pagan's YouTube channel. Myself and him will be coming together again next week for another EcoFlakes show. Obviously, there's lots of other things going on in the world, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be talking about about what's happening in terms of climate within the environment, the sea level rises, and all these very serious issues. If we don't talk about them, it's going to be problematic. So do join us next week for another show on that. Ginger Lefty, good to see you there. Hope you are doing well as well. Obviously, it's been understandably so been a difficult day. I wanted to be very careful with the content that I got for this, because I wanted to make sure that I don't have a lot of content with this, but I wanted to start with this very interesting tweet from Femi. Now, I want to stress this right now, and I think this is very important for me. This context really does matter. I want to stress this, guys. I have not read the law in full of what the judge said. Okay, I want to stress that now. And in order for me to be completely fair on this story, I need to read it to fully understand and comprehend on it. That being said, I want to make this very clear that we need to make sure that, of course, it is important that we protect men's rights. It's important that we protect women's rights, but we also have to protect the rights of those who do not have as much as a voice, who have as much to say as other people out there. And that includes transgender, non-binary, trans men as well. Their rights, although their numbers are less in comparison to men's and women's, their rights must be looked after, must be protected, and anyone who discriminates against them, just like any forms of discrimination, must face the full wrath of the law. It's really important that their rights are protected. Thank you, Stephen Banker, for the £2 super chat. Much appreciated, my friend. All these super chats there tonight, any gifted memberships, all that stuff will go towards the Democratic Penguins Republic. So thank you for anyone who does do so. I really appreciate it. Roger Devine, good evening, my friend. Hope you are doing well. And anybody else who's just popping into the chats there, if I haven't said hello. So I want to start with this. It's not a video, but it's an actual tweet from Femi, and I'm just going to read it, and just you could decide what you want to take on his opinion, okay? So this is what he said. My honest opinion on the Supreme Court ruling. Because sex, biological, and gender social are two different things. It is the job of society to decide which areas of life are split by genders and which are split by sex. So there's nothing inherently wrong with establishing biological sex as the default in law, as long as we have a clear and correct view on where gender applies. This ruling does the former without the latter. It only pushes in one direction, which creates the very uncertainty it claims to be trying to avoid. And by doing so, they hand a huge stick to those who have no empathy for trans people to beat them with. After all, that is the main difference between us and people like J.K. Rowling. We all agree that trans women are not biological women, but are simply positioning themselves within the framework of a glated society they didn't create. The main difference is whether you care about what happens to them. And anyone with a conscious consensus should be worried about the backlash trans people will face as a result of this ruling. And this is exactly what I'm worried about, the backlash of their ruling. And many of them will feel concerned about going about their lives, going to the toilet, going about just being themselves openly. It's tough enough in many parts of the world for LGBT plus people. But this obviously reinforces that conversation. And it's not right. And it's not right that this has been put on them. It's very, very frustrating. So I want to play this first clip here from Lewis Goodwill from the news agents, and his 3-minute piece on here. Again, like, I want to make it, for those who don't know, I've made it very clear. I want to make it clear on the channel, and I want to make it very clear. I've made it clear on the Discord server. Regardless, like, we do not discriminate in any way, shape, or form. Everyone is welcome. All diversities are welcome. And I want to make that clear that they always have a safe space. They really do, no matter who you are. Transgender, non-binary, you are welcome in our space, just like you are on Politics Social with Graham Hughes. You are welcome in our space as well. I want to make that very, very clear.
So the Supreme Court was asked a big question. When the Equality Act passed in 2010, which protects people on the basis of their characteristics like sexuality or race or gender or sex, talks about sex, does that mean biological sex, as in the sex you're assigned at birth? Or can it include someone who has legally changed their gender with a gender recognition certificate, i.e. a trans woman or trans man? This came about because the Scottish Government passed a law in 2018 trying to get more people onto public boards, and it counted trans women with legal recognition as women as part of that. A campaign group said, hold on, that goes against the Equality Act, which protects women as women born female, and they took it to court. Their argument was that it was unfair that trans women were treated as women for these purposes, that it contravened women's rights. So the court had to decide, what did Parliament mean in 2010 when it passed the Equality Act? Today, the court ruled that they meant that sex means biological sex only. Why? Because the law includes lots of specific protections and exceptions based on whether someone is male or female at birth. Things like women-only spaces, job quotas, or protection from sex-based discrimination. The judges said that these only make legal sense if woman means someone born female. Importantly, the court said this doesn't mean trans people aren't protected. They were at pains to stress that the Equality Act still bans discrimination based on gender reassignment. That's already in the law, but it keeps that separate from sex-based rights. I.e., you can't discriminate against a trans person because they're trans, but being trans does not legally give you the right to be treated as a woman who was born biologically female in all circumstances. But trans rights activists will argue this ruling effectively creates a two-tier system. Even if a trans person has gone through the legal and often deeply personal process of obtaining a gender recognition certificate, which is meant to affirm their identity in law, it still doesn't fully count in one of the UK's most important anti-discrimination laws. It means that in key areas like access to women-only services, job quotas, or protections in public life, trans women can legally be treated as men. They'll argue that's not just symbolic. It opens the door to real-world exclusion and unequal treatment. Meanwhile, certain women's groups and lesbian organisations argue today means their right to freedom of association has been protected. Either way, it's clear that from now on, transgender women will likely face increased restrictions from accessing spaces designated for biological women, such as certain hospital wards, shelters, or changing rooms. There may also be a wider societal effect the court did not intend, which is to cement the idea that trans women or trans men are not real women or men. It has been a big moment, one way or the other, in the history of this contentious and often toxic debate.
I agree with Lewis on the premise that when it comes to just trying to live your everyday life, that's going to be the challenge because of this. That's my real concern on this. We pagans got told to do one by Parliament when asking for equalities too. I know that part from the pain to a point. Thing is with Roger Devine says, thing is with trans, it's a huge grey area right now. It's a new concept in mainstream circles and it is still very much in its infinitely. It is not new, Roger, says a ginger lefty. No, it's not new. But let's be very clear about this, people. There are organisations out there who are determined to make transgender women an enemy of people. There are organisations and there are people out there with huge sums of money determined to turn people against transgender in some way, shape or form, to turn people against LGBTQ plus people. We know there are people out there who have big money with the intentions of doing so, and it's important that we call them out and do everything that we can as a society to protect them. I understand the concerns from women's perspective, but let's also be very clear, and this is something that Graham Hughes mentioned in the Morning Brew, right? A prime example he brought up, and I found it very interesting when they was discussing this, was how he would take not his daughter, but relative's daughter to the bathroom, and he would take them into the girls' bathroom so they could go there because they're not comfortable. Because the girl was not comfortable going into the men's one to go do their business in there. That's just from just child's perspective. The thing that worries me the most is because of how people look, and people will make this assumption that if someone doesn't look like a man or someone doesn't look like a woman, and then they go in the wrong toilet and they'll make accusations and assumptions on people. We only go in there to do our bloody business. That's it. And it should not be an issue when it comes to jobs in any way, shape or form. It is simply a case of if you are qualified to do a job, whether you are qualified to do a job, your sex should not be a factor when it comes to a job, as far as I'm concerned. Some people will argue, well, certain jobs, yeah, that certain sexes can't do. Well, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, because we've seen that women are able to do jobs that men can do. Bricklayers, for example. There's no reason why. For me, the sex should not matter. When it comes to work, it should be a case of, can you do the job, yes or no? Well, then, what's the issue? The sex should not be an issue whatsoever. So this is a little part of it from the court.
The unanimous decision of this court is that the terms woman and sex in the Equality Act 2010 refer to a biological woman and biological sex. But we counsel against reading this judgment as a triumph of one or more groups in our society at the expense of another. It is not. As I shall explain later in this hand-down speech, the Equality Act 2010 gives transgender people protection not only against discrimination through the protected characteristic of gender reassignment, but also against direct discrimination, indirect discrimination, and harassment in substance in their acquired gender. This is the application of the principle of discrimination by association. Those statutory protections are available to transgender people whether or not they possess a gender recognition certificate.
Yeah, their rights must be protected more than anything. Sorry, 1 second, let me scroll. Sarah, first of all, welcome to the chat, and I'm sorry you feel that way. Please don't feel that way. Please just I want you to know you're welcome in this space. You are not the only trans person here. I'll have you know. We have another one here. So don't feel you're alone. Like I've said, this is a welcoming place. Just please don't feel that this is the start of something, because I do not want to start to create this fear. Let's be very clear here, as he said there, that trans rights are still protected, and they should be. And if they're not, then we need to fight for them. So please don't feel that you are alone here in this, guys. People are people. Stop with the hate labels. Yes, absolutely, Steambanker. Absolutely. Respect people for being true to yourself. Yep. And you have my full support. That's it. Yeah. I understand it's very... sorry. Let me take that back. I don't understand, because I'm not a trans person. I'm not non-binary. It's not... I don't know what that is like, and I can never understand what that is like. But what I will say is that do not think that you are alone. Do not think that you are the only one scared. There are others like you who are also concerned about it. So please don't be afraid. There are others out there who will stand and support you, just like this community will as well. So please remember that. I wanted to share this story from this transgender man. I thought it was a very interesting one. This will help me and possibly some of you guys better understand this as well.
You must be just still absorbing this judgment. Share your reaction with us.
Yeah, absolutely. And sort of on a personal level, I woke up this morning as a transgender man, so someone that was given the label female at birth, but I know myself to be a man. I've got legal recognition. Legally, I'm male. And now this case, even for someone like me that does this sort of looking into our rights and protections for a job, I'm lost questioning what are my rights and protections. When I nip to the loo tonight on the way home at Euston, if I go in the men's, is someone going to tap me on the shoulder and tell me you're not allowed to be in here, you're trans, you should be in the women's toilets? What we're really unclear, and quite frankly, trans people are terrified. I've seen, lots in group chats that I'm in, people talking about this is the time to leave the country. Most trans people that I know already have in the backup mind where it is they will move to.
I want to stress this now to please don't, I really want to stress this, okay? I know this is a difficult subject, guys. I know. That's why I don't have many clips on it. Please don't feel like, based on this ruling, that transgender people don't matter. Okay? That's not true. You do matter. Your voice matters. You do matter here. Okay? You really do. This is not like America, where I was screaming and telling people to get out of it. Okay, you don't have whatever you might think of the Labour government, you don't have a Labour government that is discriminating you. Okay, you don't. I really want to stress that now. You still have rights, just like everyone else in this country, in the UK specifically. Okay, it is not a case of that is it. Your rights are gone. It can feel like that. It can feel like that, based on this ruling, and I totally accept that premise if that's what you have in the chat. But please, this this idea that it's all over is I don't buy that. My opinion may change, but as of right now, I don't buy it that it's a case of like all your rights are gone. I don't want to accept that. I don't want to accept that.
And given that a lot of the language that was used to argue the appeal and previous appeals, a lot of the language is very Trumpian in terms of talking about even down to whether someone produces eggs or sperm. Is that what we're boiling ourselves down to as people? You know, our capacity or not to reproduce. And all of this, and yet in the judgment itself, I'm left wondering still what is meant by biological sex. Is it meant my chromosomes? I couldn't tell you what my chromosomes are, whether it's XX or whether it's something else. Is it my hormone levels? Hormonally, my testosterone's in the male range. Is it my genitals? Without going into too much information, you wouldn't class me as having female genitals. You know, what is it? Or is it the legal recognition that I've had for a few years, and that you know, the law for our recognition has been in place for 25 years, the Equality Act has been in place for 15 years, and then suddenly, despite there not being any specific incidents that people are pointing to in relation to this case, trans people are suddenly thinking, hang on a minute, have I had some rights taken away from me?
There's a lot that you are sharing there, which is clearly why there's a lot for you to absorb today. Most notably, just the day-to-day impact on your life and the life of other trans individuals that perhaps do you feel has been disregarded and not considered at all? Because the court and the group, the 4 women group Scotland that brought this case, are saying, well, trans rights are protected under the law. Do you feel that there are those anomalies that haven't been considered, like simply going to the bathroom?
Yeah, because up until this point, we understood the exceptions in the Equality Act and how they applied to trans people. That trans people could be told you can't come in this single-sex space because you're trans, and here is the proportionate reason why you specifically can't come into this space. We're unclear what's being said in the judgment now, and we're going to have to take advice from our lawyers on it, because, like I said, I truly don't know what my right is now with regards to that. And trans people, like I've said, frankly terrified, you know?
Yeah, they're understandably so. I'm not going to play that one, but I think we've it's one that it's a conversation we're going to be continuously having over and over again, and I don't really want to talk it out more than we need to, guys. I think we need to kind of let the government have a look at the Equalities Act. Perhaps maybe they will look at amending it. Perhaps, possibly. We'll have to wait and see. But again, I stress that we must make sure that not just trans women, trans men, non-binary, all other people's rights are protected. All rights matter, not just men's and women's. Everyone's rights matter. It's important that they are protected, especially in times where minority groups are targeted and used to be weaponized as political tools for the benefit of evil others who intend to do harm. And we see that being done in America, for example. We've seen that in Hungary. Recently, they passed a law banning parades of LGBTQ plus people. A story I covered last year about in Uganda about how LGBTQ plus people can't be of that because of severe consequences for them. So in a world where it is very difficult for them right now, we have to stand stronger than ever. It's really, really important. So guys, we are going to move away from the conversation. I know it's one we were going to continuously have, and I appreciate everyone's comments on it. And yeah, it seems to come back to toilets, which is fucking stupid. And I'm just going to call it fucking stupid, because at the end of the day, we all go in there to do our fucking business, you know, not to snoop on people. Let's just be absolutely clear on that. And if you are somebody that snoops on people, well, you should face the full wrath of the law like anybody else, really, on that. So let's talk about this innocent person, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who was literally kidnapped and sent to a foreign detention camp, who had rights to be in the United States of America, who was taken and so-called mistakenly sent back to El Salvador. I want to point something out which I think is really, really important. Where is the tweet? Before I go to the main content. So this is Senator Chris Van Holden. Now, this is happening right now as we speak. So I want to stress that. He just met with the vice. So he's in El Salvador, looking to try and get answers. Look to see if he can get him out and try to find out what he can, basically. He said, I just met with the Vice President of El Salvador as we fight for the return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. I'm speaking to the press now. The latest on our efforts, you can tune in there. So this was roughly an hour ago. He's in El Salvador. He's talking to possibly government officials. He's hoping that he can talk to Kilmar in person. That's what he's going to try and at least talk to him at least. If he can do that, that would be a great sign, because obviously it would mean to know, it would dismiss the rumors that he's dead, that he has been killed, because there is that possibility of being in those prisons. So this is an ongoing thing. But the senator, obviously, and this was where is he? This was him a couple of hours ago. They're saying, true to his word, he's touched down in El Salvador en route to get answers from the statue of Kilmar Abrego Garcia and pushed to have him released. Meanwhile, the Trump administration refuses to comply with the Supreme Court ruling, the 9-0 Supreme Court ruling that basically said that the Trump administration has to bring him back, because that is supposed to be because the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in the US, who's supposed to have the same judicial powers, same equal powers as Congress and the President of the United States is supposed to be. But we are already in a constitutional crisis, but nobody really wants to call it a constitutional crisis because they don't want to cause panic. What do you mean? Well, the mainstream media are not calling it a constitutional crisis. They're not shouting enough about it to claim that it's a constitutional crisis. But the reality is, this alone is a constitutional crisis because they are not listening to the Supreme Court. This gives the Trump administration carte blanche to basically do whatever the fuck they want. And as Max Robespierre said on his live stream yesterday, they can do whatever they want. They can deport anybody they want. They can literally, if they wanted to, shoot someone and get away with it on the street. Like, if there is no accountability, if there's no change, if there's nothing stopping this Trump administration doing whatever it wants, no one is safe. Literally no one is safe in America. Whether you're an American citizen or not an American citizen, whether you are pro-Palestine or whether you're or if you're someone who's missed your taxes, like, anyone could end up in this situation where they get sent to El Salvador at this point. That is how scary this is. This man takes the piss. Republican Rich McCormack here, who is trying to claim that the man is not innocent and he is guilty and he absolutely deserves everything that he gets to him, when he has not provided. He, like so many other Republicans who are trying to defend the indefensible in this situation, we know he is innocent because the Trump administration has admitted that they accidentally deported him. It was an administrative error, but they have never provided, not in any way, shape or form, every time they've been asked, they've not provided any evidence to show that he is innocent in any way, shape or form. They've just claimed that he's part of these gangs. There's no evidence to support it, guys. None at all.
Latest example, you've expressed concern about presidents of both parties having too much power in the executive branch. When you hear the president and his top officials suggest that they could simply ignore the court orders here from this federal judge, do you think that is an example of the executive branch overstepping its authority?
No, in this case, I think it's been very clear. There has been a process. You can say it's not due process, but actually he has appealed his deportation. He lost that appeal.
No, he hasn't. He hasn't had this appeal. He hasn't had a case. He wasn't put in front of a jury. This is absolutely lie. He's had no due process whatsoever. He wasn't given a chance to make his case whatsoever. This was all taken against him. This is an absolute lie.
He was going to be deported. Whether he should have gone to El Salvador or not is really the one a question.
No. He's an innocent person. Until you provide evidence that he is part of this gang or that he is a threat to America, he's completely innocent.
Also begs the question, when anybody says that they request asylum because their life is threatened and they have this due process, the question is, how are you going to deport them to that country of origin if he belongs to a let's say it's MS-13 or whatever, and there's a rival gang that doesn't like him? Are we going to have this hold up our deportation of criminal elements here in the United States? But
basically, there's no evidence that he was part of the gang, and he was granted safe passage to the United States because his life was threatened. And there was evidence to support that. There's evidence that supported that his life was threatened in El Salvador, and we have sent him back to El Salvador.
But when it comes to the due process, he did have due process, and he appealed it, and he still lost that. He was deported, perhaps to El Salvador by mistake.
Right. He didn't have due process.
What do you consider due process?
Well, he didn't go before a judge before he was taken off the street and then sent to a mega prison in El Salvador. And so,
no, he wasn't. It's more on this conversation.
It will be, and the Supreme Court did weigh in and say that it agreed that it agreed with the district.
And why is he smiling? Why is he why is he smiling? Does he think it's a fucking joke? Does he think it's a fucking joke that somebody innocent has been sent back to El Salvador, been sent to that prison? Does he think it's a fucking joke? Yeah, would it be a fucking joke, if we sent him, to that prison? Would it be a joke, if we took his wife or maybe his kids away from him and sent him to that prison? Would he be fucking smiling about it? There's nothing fucking funny about any of this. An innocent man has been sent to one of the most dangerous and most violent prisons in the world, in the country that does whatever the hell it wants. There's nothing fucking funny about this.
Judge saying that the U.S. administration...
No, it did not. It did not. That is false.
Let me finish my sentence. Congressman, I know you're trying to create a moment. I understand you're trying to create a moment right now to try to get pick up. And
this is why Trump wants CNN taken down, because CNN are fact checking. Trump cannot stand CNN, cannot stand them fact checking and pointing out the facts in this. They don't want the truth. They want the likes of CNN shut down. That's why I keep banging on about shutting them down, because they're just giving the accurate information. They don't want that. They want yes outlets. They want everybody to bow to Trump and listen and just go along with everything that they're doing. No, the CNN doesn't want to do that.
That's self-serving. That's not serving our viewers.
I think we know who's trying to commit the moment here. We know that.
No,
Again, he's like, it just infuriates me that this man is smiling and thinks this whole thing is a fucking joke. Like, I really, like, again, I always talk about putting yourself in the shoes of other people. Just imagine if that was you. Imagine if that was someone that you knew, someone that you loved, who had done nothing wrong, and was taken away from you, sent to a prison in another country, and had done absolutely nothing wrong. Just imagine that was you, or imagine that was someone that you loved and knew. The pain and the horror that you would go through. I cannot stress that enough.
I am laying out here is facts. The Supreme Court, the 4-page opinion, agreed with the lower court judge that the administration should, quote unquote, facilitate his return. Now, in terms of effectuate, it left it to the lower court to clarify.
That's what the Supreme Court said, you fucking muppet. That is what the Supreme Court said. 9-0 saying that they should facilitate his return. That's what it said. Read the fucking ruling.
And it said that the president... Everyone can read it. It's online. And it said that the president does have foreign affairs...
Yeah, and you're just choosing the fucking lie. To choosing the fucking lie.
Protections, and that the district court judge should take that into account when providing that clarification. That's exactly what was said. It was not a forceful opinion. It certainly had ambiguity, but that's what the Supreme Court said. The president also says he is looking into deporting U.S. citizens who have committed violent crimes. Many legal experts say that's just flatly unconstitutional. Do you agree?
It is unconstitutional. It goes against the Constitution.
Agree with the president on this case, or do you think he should back off this threat?
I didn't hear what he said specifically. I'm not sure what the context is, so I'm not going to comment.
Oh, you didn't hear that? Oh, how funny that you didn't hear that context. It's funny how he didn't hear that specific context, guys. It's almost as if he didn't want to hear the context, you know?
Comment on what the context of that comment was, because I don't think the president would be inferring that he's going to break the constitutionality of due process for citizens of the United States. I think that's absurd.
Remember this clip, guys, because I guarantee you that's going to backfire on him. I just want to play this clip here. Fascism is here. Our neighbours, like Kilmar Abrego Garcia, are being kidnapped and sent to foreign detention camps. Wannabe directors, Trump and Bill, have defied the Supreme Court orders to facilitate his work. This is a disgusting moment, and we must sound the alarm. This is from Republican Justin Jones here speaking.
Thank you, colleagues. A couple weeks ago, I rose on this floor to bring attention to a man named Kilmar Abrego Garcia, 29 years old, kidnapped by the Trump administration, taken to El Salvador, which the Trump administration has admitted is an administrative mistake. Recently, the Supreme Court of the United States issued a unanimous order directing the Trump administration to facilitate his return to this country. But yesterday, this shameful con man, this crook, this criminal named Donald Trump met with President Bukele of El Salvador and doubled down in not returning this father who was innocent, charged with no crimes. And so there's times when we cannot act like things are normal. Too often, we're serving with damn Democrats who are feckless and Republicans who are soulless. It is tiring. It's not normal. Americans are being kidnapped. People who live in our country are being kidnapped, taken away to foreign prison camps. So the Nazi era is here. Fascism is here. And we cannot act like this is normal. So shame on you who are silent in this time.
There was a story I saw. I don't think I've got it here in this lot. I might do. Where an American citizen was detained and was held up, and then they ended up having to let him go because he was an American citizen, even though I think he's from another background. Can't remember the full context because I've seen so many clips, guys. But if he didn't have US citizenship, there's a good chance he would have got deported. Tories don't get tasered, good to see you there. And Dave McGuinness, good to see you there. Guys, someone put a link to Dave McGuinness' YouTube channel. Do check out youtube.com/the2Davies and the work that they do. They got Dave McGuinness does the paper reviews at 10:30 Monday to Friday at 10:30 a.m. UK time. He does there, and then he and the two Davies, Dave McGuinness and Dave Mulligan, they look at the news every Monday and Thursday. So do check that out, guys. Here's another. This infuriates me so much. You're getting this a lot, yeah. Whenever they do town hall meetings and whatnot. I like this. I like the way you put the tweet here. Prehistoric Chuck Grassley gets an earful from his constituents when he tries to make excuses for Trump's refusal to obtain Abrego Garcia's return. One asks, if I get a court order to pay $1,200, can I ignore it like Trump ignored the Supreme Court? Yeah, very good. Thanks for that, Alistair Keir. Very generous of you. Thanks for that. Funds because of spicy. Well, you know, I've just got to call out. We've got to call it out for what it is. You know, it's bad enough when they lie, but when they smile about it, knowing what they're doing, like they smile about it, and I was just like, for me, it's just like, just imagine if that was. Like, he wouldn't be smiling if that was his wife, if that was his kids, if it was someone that he loved that was taken away from him. I always look at it from that perspective as well. So, I think the volume's quite low for the audience members, so I'm going to turn up quite loud. So it might be a bit loud, but hopefully you guys can hear.
Supreme Court said to bring him back.
Judges are, and the president isn't upholding the Constitution. He's defined the Constitution. You're on the Judiciary Committee.
Trump don't care.
If I get an order to pay a ticket for $1,200 and I just say no, does that stand up? Because he's got an order from the Supreme Court, and he's just said no.
Yeah. He just said, screw it.
I'll be able to answer your question.
You ignored my letter.
Guatemala is mine too. Or El Salvador is an independent country. The president.
Speak up, please. We can't hear you.
The president.
Basically, he's saying it's an independent. Those who can't hear, he's basically saying it's an independent country, so we have no jurisdiction there. That's what he's trying to argue.
That country is not subject to our U.S. Supreme Court.
Bring him back. I'm pissed.
If we're paying him to keep him down there, we don't have to pay him.
Sorry if that was trying loud, but I turned it up to try and get you guys so that you could hear some of the frustrations there. And very frustrating for them. Yeah. So yeah, if I get a court order, can I ignore it like Donald Trump? You know, well, no, Donald Trump is a dictator. He's different to everyone else. You ignored my letter, says Billy Kershaw. Yeah, he did ignore the letter. Low that I'm pissed was something out of a South Park episode, said Datia on Twitch. Yeah, it was, yeah. Goldman on Trump's threatening to deport Americans to the gulag in El Salvador. This is the stuff of dictators. This is the road we are going. This is the road America is going. I warned Americans, if you didn't get out.
Let me get your thoughts on President Trump's threat to deport Americans, U.S. citizens, who commit violent crimes. Do you see any legal basis at all for that kind of action?
No, no, no.
No, of course not. It's absurd. It's ridiculous. But it is yet more authoritarian talk from Donald Trump, which is becoming a very, very frequent occurrence. He's ordering the Department of Justice to investigate his enemies. Mm-hmm. He is now threatening to deport American citizens. This is stuff of dictators. This is not the stuff of democratically elected presidents. And it's time that the American people recognize that this is all part of a pattern of Donald Trump to whittle away at our fundamental democratic values and institutions so that he can take over full power of the federal government. And Congress and the Republicans in Congress have completely acceded to his wishes and turned over all of their own authority to Donald Trump. There is no check and no balance from Congress, which is why we are talking about the courts, because the courts are the only check right now on the president's overreaching and destructive and devastating actions, which seem to happen every single day.
Literally every single day this seems to happen. I couldn't agree more with that. Cup of coffee for the Penguin Republic, McDonald's Island. Solidarity to the Penguins, says Dave McGuinness with a £5 super chat there. Solidarity to our good friends. Our friend Pingu would like to say thank you to those who have supported the Democratic Penguins Republic and the work that they all do. They are very much grateful and appreciated for all the support. Thank you, Dave McGuinness and Alistair Keir, for here on this live stream, and Alistair Keir, Steve McMahon, I believe, this morning, for your support, guys. It really does help and support the Democratic Penguins Republic and their fight against the Trump tariffs. So thank you guys for that. It's much appreciated for hitting that target. So thank you guys. Really appreciate your support. Yeah, I mean, it is the stuff of dictators. This is the path we're heading down because no one is doing anything about it. Who's doing anything about it? Who's taking up? Who's stepping up? Who's taking responsibility? The thing is, there's no, like, the Democrats are in chaos because they literally don't. Who's the leader of the Democratic Party right now? Like, who's stepping up to the plate to do something? And El Salvador are planning to build more prisons because Donald Trump wants them to take in more people. So he wants more people rounded up. The number of people getting rounded up in America is going to go up and up and up. It's going to get crazy. It's very, very frightening. Like, I cannot stress this enough. Do not travel to the United States of America. Like, just do not travel there. Do not travel to the United States of America. But if you have to go to America in any way, shape, or form, whatever your reasons, please do not take your mobile phone. Please take a burner phone. Please do not have any social media associated with that phone whatsoever to protect yourself. Yeah, protect yourself, because anything you have on any kind of criticism that you have said in the past on social media with regards to Donald Trump, you could find yourself getting deported, kicked straight back out of the country, and you would have wasted money on a flight. So if anyone's watching this, please do not travel to America unless you absolutely have to. If you do, please take a burner phone. Do not take your actual mobile phone, or if you do, please wipe it clean. And what I literally mean is by disconnecting yourself completely off social media, is what I have to stress there.
Justify is how they justify this. At the end of the day, what they're trying to do is play politics and to scare the American people. And if you, as bullies, if bullies can get away with this with vulnerable people, it is a very short road to tyranny for the rest of us. So this is why every American should care about what's happening in this case, because this guy was illegally abducted, taken out of the United States. The Trump administration says, whoops, we made an error, but we're not going to do anything we're going to get him back, in defiance of a 9-0 Supreme Court order and a federal law.
Yeah, Van Holden here saying everything that we're already emphasizing here. I mean, it's just outrageous. Like I said, he's already in there at the moment. Donald Trump on this situation and more.
Do you plan to ask President Bukele to help return the man who your administration says was mistakenly deported? The man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador?
Court filings from the Trump administration revealed that they mistakenly deported a Maryland father to this horrific prison in El Salvador. Abrego Garcia is married to a United States citizen and has a 5-year-old disabled child who is a U.S. citizen. He has no criminal record in the United States. The Trump administration deported him where? To the very country from which he fled. Here's the story that was written about him in The Atlantic. The Trump administration acknowledged in a court filing Monday that it had grabbed a Maryland father with protected legal status and mistakenly deported him to El Salvador. But in Monday's court filing, attorneys for the government admitted that the Salvadorian man, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, was deported accidentally. Although ICE was aware of his protection, removal to El Salvador, Abrego Garcia was removed to El Salvador because of an administrative error, the government told the court. Trump lawyers said the court has no ability to bring him back now that Abrego Garcia is in Salvadorian custody.
Do you plan to return him?
How can I return him to the United States? Like I smuggle him into the United States, or what do I do? Of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like, I mean, the question is preposterous.
The question is not preposterous. The Trump administration can turn around at any time and tell him to bring him back to the United States, and he would do it. America has all the control in all of this. El Salvador don't have any say in this. America can at a flick of a switch say, bring him back, and they will do it. No hesitation, no question. It is this denial, complete denial that they've done anything wrong. Complete denial. Denial in the truth. And here, they say he's definitely guilty. Where's the evidence?
Topic over the past few weeks, Kilmar Abrego Garcia in Maryland. He's in a prison now in El Salvador. He was sent there. You insist, the president, everybody in the administration insists that he is MS-13. It appears that there's not going to be any sort of trial. He's not going to come back. DHS said he would be arrested and redeported if he comes back. Why not show the American people the evidence that he's MS-13 so they can make an informed decision? And that goes the same with this Henry Josue Santos, who was picked up in Virginia, who is now presumably going to be deported as well. Why not show the public the evidence?
Well, he is an illegal alien who has been living illegally in our country.
And your evidence is, no, he's an illegal alien. And your evidence is, no, he's an illegal alien. Well, I can say the sky is red, but I don't need to show any evidence for it, guys. The sky is actually red. It's not blue. I'm sorry. No, where's your evidence for it? No, the sky is red. Where is your evidence? No, guys, I'm telling you, the sky is red. You just have to take my word for it. The sky is red, and that is it. End of discussion. This is literally what these lot are doing. They are telling you this person is guilty without any shred of evidence whatsoever. It's the same nonsense that you get from Israel about when they bomb a school or a church or, you know, a residential, and they say Oh, there was a Hamas command center there. Where's your evidence? It's coming. You just destroyed a bunch. You just killed a bunch of children in that school. Oh, but there was a Hamas command center there, says the IDF. Where's your evidence? Oh, right, evidence. Yeah, kind of need evidence, yeah, to back up your claims instead of making shit up, which is exactly what the Trump administration does. Same shit. Same shit here.
From El Salvador. ICE testified. An immigration judge ruled he was a member of MS-13. An appellate judge ruled he was a member of MS-13.
Where's your evidence? Like, what? He did not have due process. Everyone has a right to due process. Where was his due process? He did not have it.
Hard stop. He should not be in our country. He was deported. They needed one additional step in paperwork, but now MS-13 is characterized as they should be, as an FTO, as a foreign terrorist organization. So he is not coming back to our country. President Bukele said he was not sending him back. That's the end of the story. If he wanted to send him back, we would give him a plane ride back. There was no situation ever where he was going to stay in this country. None. He would have come back, had one extra step of paperwork, and gone back again. But he's from El Salvador, he's in El Salvador, and that's where the president plans on keeping him.
The evidence, we're not going to see the evidence.
We have the transcripts from the court hearings. I'll be glad to give you the court hearings from 2019, what we have, sure, with the rulings from the judges, gladly.
Again, this is all nonsense. They don't, like, it's just a lot. Transcripts. Yeah, okay. Sure. That person's definitely innocent, guys. Definitely innocent. What should we go to? Hold on a second. I just want to check something here. So, I do have some stuff on some other stuff in America, but we'll leave it for now. I want to talk about a very serious topic we'll come to in a moment in Sudan, because I do think it's one that they'll have some videos on the situation, because it is a very important discussion that we haven't really covered here on the Snowflake Watch. I just want to remind you guys, thank you all guys for coming along. Thank you all for your support. Really appreciate your comments down below, for contributing to the channel, contributing to the Discord community. Really appreciate everyone's support for being here, whether you've hitting that like button, sharing, commenting, if you've done super chats or become a YouTube member in any way, shape or form. I really appreciate your support, guys. You guys are the ones that help keep me going. Yeah, and I really am grateful for everyone who is here. So thank you all so much. Really appreciate everyone being here. I've seen the sky flash green. Just saying, says Billy Kershaw. No, that must mean the sky is green then. No evidence to support anything. It must be green. Must be green. That's it. End of discussion. Should I do? Yeah, I should actually do this. You know what? I think we need a bit of a funny story. I think we need a funny story, guys. What about you? I think we need a funny story before we look at more sad stuff, because we need to have a bit of a laugh. And I hope you guys enjoyed this one. It technically is funny, but technically is also technically funny, technically hilarious. But this is interesting. So Caroline made herself a laughingstock, and Lysandra capitalized on it. So this is absolutely brilliant. Enjoy this. Just listen to it. Yeah, pay attention. Just listen to this. You guys will enjoy this.
No one realized Carolyn Levitt wants her imitator, Lysandra Vasquez, to disappear forever. Recently, a video of Caroline facing off against Lysandra went viral.
Recently, I heard about an impersonator named Lysandra Vasquez.
And this imitator, who has caused Caroline so much frustration, has made her a laughingstock time and time again. Before Lysandra came into the picture, Caroline was thriving. As the youngest White House press secretary, she came from a wealthy background, had a millionaire husband fully supporting her, and even Trump praised her professional skills. But everything changed when Lysandra appeared. Lysandra focused on mocking her. Not only did she use the iconic cross necklace to mock Caroline, but she also often made fun of her appearance and speech. This caused Carolyn to lose face. What made Caroline even more upset was that people began saying Lysandra even looked more like Caroline than Caroline herself. To try to shake off the imitation, Caroline stopped wearing her signature necklace, hoping Lysandra would stop, but she didn't. Then recently, Caroline put the necklace back on to strike back at Lysandra, but Lysandra just despised the attempt and continued imitating imitating her. This led people to speculate that Caroline's video calling out Lysandra was her reaction to the ongoing mimicry. However, it was soon discovered that the video was actually AI generated because Caroline's lip movements looked off. Yet everyone thought the words in the video might actually be what Caroline wanted to say. Who do you support, Caroline or Lysandra?
This is definitely an AI generated video, but I still think it's quite funny that how people imitate her, and it's been driving her bonkers. I think it's absolutely brilliant. Disturbing resemblance, very disturbing indeed, but an interesting one I wanted to share indeed. That TikTok video is definitely made AI because the way the person talks definitely screams AI to me. Now, maybe some of you guys disagree. But just before we go on to Sudan, just want to say thank you, Alistair Keir, for the 5 gifted memberships. To Martin Harrow, Jim Stevens, Alexandra L, Unquiet Badger, and PLI. Thank you, Alistair Keir. You've been very generous today. I really appreciate your support. Very, very generous today. Thank you so much for all the support you've done for me and on this channel, for the Democratic Penguins Republic, for Pingu, for Ollie, for everyone part of this community. I really do appreciate your very, very kind gestures. You really have been extremely kind. Kate Middleton, you see this, says Billy Kershaw. And what was just wanted to check who said something. Oh, we deleted it. You've been lied to just now they have the nerve to tell you to feel nightmare, avenge Salford, says one angry pagan. Hold on a second. Why is my hold on, sorry, I just need to adjust the chat filter. Is that Martin Briggs? Good to see you, Martin. Hope you're doing well. And anybody else look. The law must go after these lying media outlets. Show us solid proof to be punished. Applicable have been showing getting away with this bullshit for too long, says Stephen Banker. Yeah. They speak and it's the same narrative, says Joe. So many words and nothing said. Yeah. Indeed. Sudan, guys. This is the first of many. Like I said, I want to stress that there are no videos of like any horrific stuff or any war stuff or anything like that. I want to stress that when we talk about this. But this conflict has been going on for a few years now, and it's reached another anniversary has come on this situation, and it's very sad indeed. So this is from Save the Children. The conflict in Sudan is having a catastrophic impact on children. And since the conflict began over 2 years ago, thousands of children have been killed and millions have been forced to flee their homes due to the violence. So this is an explainer for people.
Imagine seeing your loved ones killed, experiencing unimaginable violence and being cut off from food, shelter and healthcare. This is the reality for children in Sudan. Here are 3 things you need to know. Since the conflict began in Sudan's capital, Khartoum, on the 15th of April 2023, thousands of children have been killed and recruited into armed groups and exploited, whilst also facing extreme risks of rape and other sexual violence. 6.5 million children have been forced to flee their homes since the conflict has begun.
6.5 million children, guys.
That's 1 child every 10 seconds. Millions are at risk of hunger, disease, and severe lack of healthcare. And at least 80% of hospitals in Sudan are out of service, depriving children of emergency medical care, as well as life-saving vaccinations, with cholera, measles, and dengue fever on the rise. Despite staggering levels of need, this crisis is not getting the attention it deserves. Tell the UK government to act now and stand up for the children of Sudan.
It'd be nice to say that if we had a UK government that claims to care about it. They literally, as I said this morning on the Good Morning Show, they literally did a conference about it, but didn't include any Sudanese people talking about what's happening in Sudan, but didn't even include any people from the bloody country on the issue.
A brutal war erupted in Sudan, triggering the world's largest displacement crisis.
The massive impact on Sudan's neighbors is too often overlooked. Nearly 4 million people have sought refuge in at least 7 countries. countries already facing immense challenges, and yet they have responded with remarkable generosity.
But the pressure is enormous. Economies, infrastructure, health and education systems are stretched to the limit. That's why we came to Chad, where over 700,000 people, mostly from Darfur, have sought refuge over the past 2 years.
The EU stands with host governments, with humanitarian workers and local responders. We stand with every woman, man and child traumatized by this crisis. Together with UNHCR and partners, we plead for an end to the fighting, and we will continue working to strengthen our regional response.
But the needs are massive at a time when resources are shrinking. This is a moment for solidarity, not retreat. We must ensure that those forced to flee through no fault of their own are protected and that host countries receive meaningful, sustainable support.
We need unity, commitment, and action.
We need solidarity.
Unfortunately, that is very, very hard to come by these days, especially the language that you hear from the likes of the Trump administration. And given the impact that that you hear about the language that is used around immigration and migration, it is very hard to combat that. It is very hard to combat that. You see here talking about the humanity side, the compassionate side of what is happening in Sudan. Obviously, this is one of many conflicts, and how important it is to remember our humanity and compassion for the situation that others are going through. But the problem is that this language is superseded to people by the hatred that people have of immigrants, of migrants, who have this general belief and mindset driven into them that all their problems, that everything that's going wrong in their lives, in their countries, is down to migrants, is down to immigrants, is down to people of other nationalities or by the skin of their colour. This mindset is being drilled into the minds of many people whose lives have not gotten better under their government for whatever reason, and they're looking for an easy target, and they turn that easy target to immigrants. And it is something that we need to continue to combat every day. It's one thing that I cannot stand on my channel, is whenever I talk about immigration and people talk about how they feel that all their problems revolve around them, when they don't even bother looking at the fact that it might be a case of, did they done enough in their own situation to be better? Have they done enough themselves, rather than blaming others? Is it really just a case of just the government for themselves? There's so many reasons why people are in situations that they're in. But to blame refugees, people who are fleeing conflicts, where's the humanity when we talk about it? This is yesterday. It began its 3rd year of the conflict, guys. So 3 years now we are into this conflict. Wanted to read this, play this piece from France 24 here on marking 3 years, and with 13 million displaced, tens of thousands killed in the fighting between the army and the RSF. Here, I'm gonna play the speed a little bit faster. Hopefully it won't be too fast for you guys.
Well, let's speak to our regional correspondent, Olivia Bizot. Olivia, 2 years into this war, the conflict, the end of the conflict doesn't look any nearer.
Good morning. Yes, well, when the army took over Khartoum just a few weeks ago, many had hoped that the war would begin winding down and that the army could eventually use that victory as a potential leverage in peace negotiations. But unfortunately, that has not happened, and the fighting has actually escalated. Now, the centre of gravity of this war is now moving west to the region of Darfur, which is mostly in the hands of the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. The most intense fighting is taking place in and around El Fasher, which is the last major city in the Darfur region under government control. Now, on Sunday, the RSF seized control of Zamzam camp, which is a camp for displaced people located around 15 kilometres from El Fasher. Now, they seized control of the camp after a 4-day assault. Many aid organisations have called those attacks one of the worst atrocities since the war began 2 years ago. Now, both sides in this war are receiving foreign support, and these foreign powers are pouring arms into the country, which is really helping to keep this war going. Many fear that the country could eventually split in two, with the RSF controlling most of the western part of the country and the army controlling most of the north and the east.
This is actually something I'm pretty sure we mentioned on this channel, or if not, I mentioned on Rumble, that there is a very possibility that Sudan could be split in two. You know, the country's you've already got Sudan and South Sudan. Are we going to have a possibility that we may have a West Sudan, East Sudan, and a South Sudan? Or because there doesn't seem to be an end to this conflict? It's very possible we could end up in this situation. Because what is just the alternative here? If there cannot be a peace, what is the alternative? Are we willing to allow the country to split in two in order for people to be able to live in peace, to return back to their homelands, to be able to return to some kind of normality? Is that what has to be done here? It's not right. It's not right that we should have to have this discussion. You know, my anger has always been on the two generals of both armies responsible for this, because they are the reason that they stopped a democratic government being created in a civilian government being created here. But if you were to ask Sudanese people now, would they be willing to accept an East and West Sudan if it meant stability and peace? I think some of them would possibly take that. Is it right? No, absolutely not. But where does this conflict end?
But for now, both sides have vowed to continue fighting until they obtain total victory. This Tuesday, diplomats are expected to meet in London in an attempt to find a way forwards in this conflict. But as the war enters its third year, peace is unfortunately still looking very far away.
By the way, they got nothing out of the conflict, out of the conference in London yesterday. There was discussions, but that was it. There was no concrete discussions in any way, shape or form, first for the record.
And yet, Olivia, it's already, according to the United Nations, the world's worst humanitarian crisis.
World's worst, yeah? Be that very clear, yeah? You hear a lot about Gaza. This is much worse, guys.
Yes, that's right. The situation is absolutely catastrophic. Tens of thousands of people have been killed since the war began. Those are estimates, but the number is likely a lot higher. More than 13 million people are believed to have been displaced. Millions, if not tens of millions of people are on the brink of famine. Now, Sudan is the only country in the world where famine has been declared in multiple locations. One of the worst hit areas is Zamzam camp, where the 4-day assault by the RSF took place last week. Now, hundreds of people were killed in those attacks, including many aid workers and even children. Markets were destroyed, homes were burnt, and the only medical clinic serving the over 300,000 people in the camp was destroyed. Now, this case in Zamzam is nowhere near an isolated case. Both the RSF and the army have repeatedly been accused of specifically targeting civilians since the war began 2 years ago.
We've had this time and time again about atrocities being committed more by the RSF rather than the government forces. But it still doesn't change the fact that these situations are still happening.
Also been accused of blocking humanitarian routes and preventing aid from getting to the areas that need it the most. Now, aid organisations are warning that this situation is only going to get worse in the coming weeks, especially with the rainy season around the corner. They've warned that millions more people will be at risk of famine.
And it wasn't too long ago that I talked about the floods that were occurring in Sudan, and it looks like they're going to come back again. Yeah, I talk about the earthquake in Myanmar and what's happened around that. Then the military Judah called for a ceasefire, and there was a proposed ceasefire of some sorts, a temporary one, and he kick-started it without any notice because he wanted to get an upper hand on rebel groups there, while they were still recovering from the earthquake. And then you could have floods here in Sudan at any time where people again will die as a direct result. Sorry, 1 second. I just need to charge this because I need to keep the Twitch chat open just in case. 2 years ago, these people must be. 2 years ago, these people must be exhausted. Well, it's entered its third year today. It's third year. When this conflict kicked off, I had only just started my channel, guys, as well. Literally a month or so after is when the conflict kicked off, and I talked a little bit about it very, very early on my channel. So this story here I'm about to show you is from Sudan Muska, who was a teacher in Khartoum before the war tore his life apart. His voice breaks as he remembers what is the loss displaced by the conflict that continues to uproot millions. It's one of many people, guys. It is important that we hear some of the actual people's stories.
الشفة بيستغرب ويقول لي أبوي ليه أنت شعرك بقى أبيض.
2 years into Sudan's conflict, displaced families like Musa's are struggling to cope. His family was torn apart and scattered across Sudan.
في الأول ما كنت بتحمل الحديث معهم. بعد ذاك ما مرور الأيام بقيت بشاهد الفيديو بشاهد الصور فقمت ولفت عليه. انتقلنا لمرحلة بنتكلم بالصوت. هسه الآن بالفيديو ممكن نتكلم ونتونس. فبقول لي أبوي أنت ليه بقيت كبير؟ أنت كنت شاب شعرك ما كان أبيض كده. فقول لهم الحموم إن شاء الله. أنت طفل صغير دائما بطلب مني إنه أجي وتاني ما أسافر. أنا بقول له أنا مسافر. فبيطلب مني بقول له أبوي تعال. وأتمنى تاني ما تسافر. دي من أكثر الحاجات اللي
International Committee of the...
It's brutal. I know it was hard to watch, but it's important. This is one of many situations that many Sudanese people are in. This last one here, guys. Although it is still troubling, there are obviously organizations that are working in Sudan to help with this situation. And this one from Planned International here talks about child-friendly spaces to help children recover from the trauma of conflict. Children must be better protected, supported, and have access to aid.
بدأت المساحة من يوم 1/3 بخصوص النازحين متعلق بالنازحين والأطفال وفيها مناشط متعددة من ضمنها منشط الكرة الطائرة عندنا منشط الفك والتركيب للأطفال من عمر وصنفنا الأطفال من عمر يوم لحد من عمر 3 سنة لحد 5 سنة وعندنا الرسم عندنا بطاقات جاهزة في أعمار معينة هدول بيرسموا لي بيلونوا لنا وعندنا أطفال بيكتشف المواهب بتاعتهم مدينهم كراسات رسم بيرسموا لنا الرسم دي المناشط الموجودة عندنا عندنا المرجيحات عندنا نط الحبل برضه دي كلها فيها جزء من الأولاد وفيها جزء للبنات دي المناشط الموجودة عندنا المساحات الصديقة ساعدت الأطفال بإنهم يقدروا في ناس عندهم مواهب خاصة في الرسم زي الرسم في ناس اكتشفنا إنه عندهم مواهب كثيرة بيقدروا يترجموها لأنه كانوا ما عندهم حاجة والناس أغلبهم الناس اللي أجوا الناس النزوح اللي أجوا نازحين ديل كانوا مكفولين في حتة محصورة في ناس ما قدروا يدخلوهم المدارس الأطفال كانوا ما يلا من جابوهم أمهاتهم أول يوم كانوا خايفين لكن بعد ذاك قدرنا يعني نستوعبهم في الحاجة دي ونحسن لهم الجو ونهيئهم هسه استمروا معانا وبقوا يقعدوا يلعبوا عادي طبيعيين مع الأطفال لكن كانوا بيصرخوا الواحد يقول له ماشي مع أمه بيصرخ لكن بعد ذاك قدروا يعني يستوعبوا الحكاية.
So even despite, I know obviously Gaza is a very different situation, but it is still good to know that there are children in this situation, despite horrors that are taking place in Sudan, that they are being given a future and opportunity, even if it seems small. So it's very there are calls for optimism, and this is optimism which we should be grateful for when we see it. So obviously I will try to continue to talk about Sudan whenever I possibly can, because it's obviously something that the world doesn't want to talk enough about. You know, the world has other priorities. Well, let's be clear that the world, if they wanted to, if the international community wanted to, if America and the EU and other big nations, if they wanted to stop this conflict, they can. They know they can. Because they are strong enough and powerful enough to do so. Sometimes it only takes one phone call to end a war. Because that's all it can take here sometimes. And for those who have stayed, I appreciate you guys staying to watch some of that stuff, because I know that was not easy to talk about. What is also not easy to talk about is Gaza as well. I want to... I have a couple from Gaza. Again, there may be one or two. I don't think, as far as I recall, nothing too bloody from the clips, but let me just check 1 second before I play this clip. I just want to double check there's not anything. No, you won't be able to see from that. Okay. I want to start, before I come to Gaza, by showing you guys this clip here. Chinese children are learning a very, very hard lesson. Schools in China are teaching children about the genocide in Gaza. This is one way of teaching your children. This is a school in China. I'm going to mute it just for the music. Chinese schools show Gaza genocide videos to school children. That in the background. It's quite blurred, but yeah. Obviously they've had to blur it because of how bad it is. But it's teaching them just how dangerous the world is and how messed up the world is. I don't have full context. That's all I have on it. But obviously they learn more valuable lessons in China than they do other people. But the fact that that's being shown to children in China says a lot. Israel is now home to the largest group of child amputees in modern history. Thanks to Israel.
According to the United Nations, Gaza is now home to the largest group of child amputees in modern history. The Red Cross estimates that between 5,000 to 6,000 Palestinians have lost limbs since October 2023.
We are delivering critical services to amputees amid a sharp surge in limb loss caused by the ongoing Israeli war on Gaza. So far, we have followed up on 507 new amputation cases and are currently providing therapy to 306 individuals. However, we face severe shortages in prosthetic devices and essential materials due to the suffocating Israeli blockade and continued attacks, which are driving amputation numbers even higher by the day.
With Gaza's borders being shut down and Israel's blockade on aid including food and fuel, even basic medical supplies are nearly impossible to get. That includes prosthetic limbs and the raw materials needed to produce them. But despite the challenges, local technicians are pushing the limits of what's possible. In this modest lab, they are building artificial limbs from recycled materials and whatever else they can find.
It's pretty against all the odds. They're still trying to find ways to create amputees, prosthetics for these kids, despite everything that is happening. But the challenge is incredibly immense for them. It is incredibly immense. So I applaud those who are facing this challenge in Gaza. And I despise this Israeli government. I actually do despise this Israeli government and its leaders for what they are allowing to happen. I do not have any sympathy whatsoever with Hamas because of what they have done and still holding those Israeli prisoners. However, at the same time, they are also, because they are guilty of this too. It is the Palestinian people who I feel for more than anything consistently, and I've talked about this to death with you guys. And the reason I talk about it is because of how much of an abomination it is of how they are being treated in this situation. And I've said this before, and I've said this again. There is countless videos, there is countless evidence that have shown that Israel of what Israel have done. No matter how much suppression and how little the mainstream media talks about it, the reality is Israel has done horrible, terrible crimes and have not faced any accountability for it. The evidence is out there on the internet, and it cannot be simply erased from history. The world has seen it, and it is just a case of people, the most powerful people, are trying to suppress it or choose to ignore it, to deny the next generation of people and telling the next generation of youngsters out there saying, no, what you saw online is fake, or they refuse to acknowledge it or try to suppress it from their minds. That's why you have situations like they do in Germany and America and other places when it comes to this information. This, the most nasty, one of many nasty bastards, and I do call him a nasty bastard here. Israel spokesperson David Messiah, we've heard him before, but what an absolute charlatan.
Hamas have hoarded for months and months of supplies. They have enough food to fuel an obesity epidemic.
There is no evidence to support that. They have no evidence to support that. That is absolute bullshit. If Hamas really had such food and supplies, show us the evidence to do so. Oh, we don't have the evidence. Oh, you're just claiming that they have. Just like when you bombed the schools to claim that there are Hamas command centers and you still haven't showed evidence for them as well.
But the only people we see getting fat are Hamas themselves.
Again, where is the evidence?
No one is going hungry in Hamas. The supplies are there, but Hamas don't share.
Again, where is the evidence to this? Like, don't get me wrong, Hamas have not exactly been treating Palestinians well. But this does not give them the excuse to cut off supplies to Palestinian people, which they are deliberately and intentionally choosing to do so.
If the criminals of Gaza won't reach out their hand to release our people in peace, then they can stop reaching out their hand to take.
Absolute charlatan, this man. Martin Briggs, thank you for popping in. Much appreciated, my friend. Thank you for coming by. This tweet from UNICEF: mothers in Gaza, like Hanendi, are salvaging inedible bits from mouldy bread to feed their children. The lack of aid over a month is having horrific effects on family. UNICEF continues to call on parties to reinstate the ceasefire and allow the entry of humanitarian aid. This was today by UNICEF.
أنا اسمي هنادي، إحنا من خان يونس، عند المقابر ساكنين، إحنا يعني هم ميتين وإحنا عايشين، إحنا مش عايشين، إحنا زيهم ميتين. يا خبز الناشف هذا اللي أنت شايفه، هاي كرتونة مليانة ما كناش عاملين حساب إنه نرجع لها، وهاي رجعنا لها تاني. بدنا نمسحها، بدي أختصر أخذ لها كم من خبزة زي هيك من الكويسات، مش هالعفن اللي في عفن خفيف زي هيك، بدي أمسحها وفتلة الولاد فيه. مجبورة. البيض مش موجود، ولو موجود غالي وفيش. الحليب بدك تجيبه حق 50 شكل، من وين بدك تجيبه؟ عندي طنط صغير مش قادرة أوفر له حليب، بدي أوفر للكبار. كنت أطعميك رز مطحون، أجيب له سميد، هذه كل الأشياء مع تسكير المعابر خفت وغلية. كان وزنه 7 كيلو ونص، لما ودته على الإبار لقيت ميزانه نازل 6 كيلو، يعني كيلو ونص نازل في أقل من 10 أيام.
10 days. In 10 days, that child. Just scraping the barrel. My heart goes out to her and her family. But we know there are worse kids and worse families in much graver situations. Thank you, UNICEF, for what they do. It's really difficult for them. I will show you that clip in a moment. I just want to share one thing here. This was Tim Walz, who obviously, for those who don't recall, Tim Walz was obviously running for vice president along Kamala Harris. He was speaking to MSNBC, and he was asked about Gaza from America's perspective on this, because as we know, America are kind of just letting everything carte blanche what's happening in the situation.
Very quickly here, but on the Gaza question, should there have been a more definitive break with the administration on Gaza specifically?
Well, I think we would have been clearer because a Harris administration wouldn't have us in the situation we are now. Nothing has gotten better. The situation with Donald Trump of stumping on that, we could have been in a different place. That wasn't believed by a large number of people, but I think it's clear now. And what I would say is we still need to have a two-state solution. We still need to bring peace to Gaza. We still need self-determination for the Palestinians, and Israel needs to right for its security. Those processes haven't changed. Donald Trump's doing none of that.
No. Donald Trump and the Trump administration aren't doing any of that shit, which is absolutely terrible. No worries, Alistair Keir. Thanks for popping by. Much appreciated. A reminder that I will be doing a live stream in the morning at 8 a.m. just for reference, guys. I want to show you this one, which is going to be... you might find it disturbing, but I think it's important. So this is from DW News. Students at the University of Amsterdam said they were attacked by plainclothes police at pro-Palestine demonstration. Protesters had occupied a campus building, demanding the university cut ties with Israeli institutions over the war in Gaza.
All of a sudden, these men who were just dressed as normal men started running and shouting at us and like beating us with sticks. I just have some bruises on my legs. There were also people beaten on their heads.
The UVA must also ensure a socially and physically safe study and working environment. Mass demonstrations and the occupied building are entirely incompatible with this. We are therefore not entering into negotiations with the demonstrators today and have filed a police report. This was by the University of Amsterdam on this. Sorry, 1 second, it's going. The university has received criticism for its handling of the incident, and I don't blame them for getting that criticism.
I truly think we should really work on making sure the university doesn't call the police this often at their own students, because I do think a university should deal with critical voices in student populations also on their own, and not like with every critical sound just call the police.
The Amsterdam police confirmed the deployment of plainclothes riot police. So those plainclothes people you saw right at the start song were actually police people. And they told DW that they were authorized to use a certain amount of force as well. I know it was pretty brutal, but I thought it was important to share that this is happening, and people's freedoms of speeches are being thrown into question when it comes to the rights of Palestinian people. It really is dividing a lot of people. I want to share this. I've got one more video after this. We are going to wrap up soon, guys. I want to share this is the moment that Dr. Mohammed Mustafa is welcomed by a crowd of people in Australia, Perth International Airport, after returning from his medical mission in Gaza, which I thought was very nice, considering what he was trying to do there.
You know, in Gaza, the hospitals were bombed while Australian aid workers were there. Our lives were in danger while we were in Gaza. And I'm asking our Prime Minister and Penny Wong to help us, to help the children in Gaza. 2 weeks ago, 1 year ago, we had an Australian aid worker who was killed in Gaza. Our blood is not cheap. We demand that our Prime Minister and Penny Wong help us in order to help those children in Gaza who are dying every single day.
Yeah, absolutely. was very, very nice. Very nice speech. Very nice to hear that that there's a lot more freedom there. I thought that was very lovely to hear there. I want to go to, just before, I want to share a very important video. Where is it? Some of you guys have seen this video before, because it relates it relates to a lot of things. You may recognize this video. Do you recognize this woman, guys? Well, listen very carefully if you haven't.
You are all members of the same race, the human race, which started with black women between 300,000. Don't interrupt me, I don't have much time. Now, white folks, you don't like it, but all you are is faded blacks. Every one of you, if you trace your DNA back far enough, you're going to find that some of your DNA came from Africa, because we all have the same ancestor back there, every single one of us. And those of you who think you don't have are obviously from outer space. Now, that means that every one of us is a 30th to 50th cousin to every other person in this room. Well, every person in this room who considers himself or herself a biracial person, stand. Don't you stand. Don't you stand. People, we have to get rid of the language of racism. I'm not a teacher. Teachers dispense facts and figures so that they can get their kids ready for the end of school testing. I've been called a trainer. You train dogs and horses and members of the military. I don't train people. I'm an educator. The word educator comes from the root duck deuce, which means lead, the prefix e, which means out, the suffix ate, which means the act of, and the suffix or, which means one who does. An educator is one who is engaged in the act of leading people out of ignorance. In this country, we spend a lot of money on what we call education. It isn't education, it's indoctrination.
Indoctrination. That's exactly what it is. Very, very well said there. We need more people like Jane Ellis in this world. An absolute warrior of the truth. She is a fantastic soul. She is indeed, guys. She is indeed. I did have more other stuff. Liz Truss speaking. Jacob Rees-Mogg. But given that we've gone about an hour and a half, I was thinking we were probably going to go 2 hours. I think we will call it there. But before we go, we are going to have one last funny video to see ourselves out for those who are still here. Just a reminder, I will be live again tomorrow at 8 a.m. So do join me for the Good Morning with me. We will discuss whatever's happening in the world news that we'll be reporting. Some of it may be it's possible that some of the content we've been discussing today will be content we'll discuss tomorrow as well. But there will be some stories that we are not familiar with, which tends to pop up on some of the websites and medias that we don't know about. But before we go, guys, we have one last funny video to see ourselves out. Well, actually, no, I'm going to give you guys 2 funny videos because I wanted to play this one as well. I know I'm going to have to remove it because of the music, but I don't care. I want to have a little bit I want to have some laughter because we've talked about and read and watched some very serious and very important stuff. Let's have a little bit of fun here. Another Chinese meme featuring Cletus. Well, Americans bringing back manufacturing, bringing back farming. It's the best thing possible for them. Keep America hungry. And of course, how can we not forget the lovely, amazing Maggie Lee Reed to see ourselves out, guys.
The timeless gift of laughter. It's the sound that unites us, lifts our spirits, and reminds us that even in the darkest of times, shit's funny. Our next award is for the funniest video of the day so far. And the nominees are Jeff Bezos in Falling, J.D. Vance in Breaking a College Football Trophy, Donald Trump in Cognitive.
And by the way, I took my cognitive exam as part of my physical exam, and I got the highest mark, and one of the doctors said,
Sir, I've never seen anybody get that kind of. That was the highest mark.
And the winner goes to J.D. Vance, breaking a college football trophy. The time.
Oh, gotta love Maggie. Gotta love Maggie, guys. So, guys, I want to say a massive thank you. If you have made it all the way to the end here, thank you guys so much for coming along. Thank you guys for all your support. Thank you for those who left super chats today. Alistair Keir, Dave McGuinness, very much appreciate for the show tonight. I hope you guys found what the content I provided today for you guys informative, helpful to you, and hopefully reflective. Don't feel despair because of what happens in the world, because there is always light out there, even though it may seem like there isn't. Please stay positive, please stay strong, and know that you are not alone in this world. There are always other people out there who can help and support you. The power of the internet has the power to bring people together, not just divide people. Let me be very clear, and I want to make very clear that everyone is welcome here, as long as you're not an arsehole, of course. And remember, we have a Discord community that you can join as well, which is free to join. Link is in the description. You're always welcome to join us on there as well. So I will be back, like again, once I said one more time, I'll be back again tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. UK time. Do join me for that. But just before I quickly go, before we head out, the gang here would like to say thank you as well. Ollie turned off the orb, I'm afraid, but the Cash Dummy, the Cookie Monster there, and Blaze, the Charmander. I know you guys don't see them very often because they're normally hanging out behind Pingu, but obviously Pingu has been the centre of attention because he's been working with the Democratic Penguins Republic. Well, he is part of the Democratic Penguins Republic against Donald Trump's administration on there. So I just wanted to share that with you guys there as well. But yeah, thank you all for coming along. But just before I go, I have one last thing to say. If you haven't already, please hit that like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share this across social media so others are notified of this live stream. Subscribe if you haven't to already. It really does help support the channel. And do check out the Patreon and Rumble for exclusive content on those platforms as well. Also check out the links tree down below. You can find me across all different kinds of social media. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.